Hello everybody, this is Glenda with Fralins and Friends Crafts Plus. On the porch tonight. Too nice to be in. Should have been out here more today, but I slept. That seems to be our thing on Sundays. Sleep. I'm thinking, I've had a couple people ask me about doing lives. I've tried them in the past, but maybe it's time to try again. I will think about giving that a shot this week. So, how is everybody doing? And I'm seriously wanting to know how. I really enjoy being able to either encourage or just say, give you a well done or whatever down in the comments. So just tell me if I need to congratulate you for something, tell me. So I still have another 4 elements to go. Those are from Glenda Wilson, and I'll surprise you with hers. I kind of surprised you with Carla's. I'm going to surprise you with Glenda Wilson's too. So we will have another story coming up. I just want to tell you a little bit of what I've been doing. I am part of a group called the 5%. What we do is we can be completely opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to our political opinions. The thing is, when we come together in this, we are distancing ourselves not from our ideas, but we are agreed to be totally nonpartisan in this group because our efforts are not directed at a particular, like wanting something done here or something done there the way one party or the other wants to do it. What we want to target, I guess you could say, is the government and the dysfunction that it has right now. William calls it the fight or flight that is going on in Congress right now, and has been for quite some time. And it involves the executive branch as well, but what we want to do is let them know that we are participating by voting, by other things, and we want communication. We want good communication. We want straightforward communication, and so forth. But my part in that so far has been research. And lately, my research has been to look through history. And the Constitution, this is not our first Constitution. There was the Magna Carta, and then there was the Colonial Congress. They were still under the jurisdiction of King George III. Now, there had been negotiations tried and failed, but when we made our declaration, or when our forefathers made the declaration that we wanted to separate, or that we wanted to be free of England to rule ourselves, that's where the problem came in. And we knew it would, or they knew it would, because basically we were committing treason against the king. Because back then they didn't even like you to say anything. And especially here in the colonies, they were set up with governors who worked under British law. But we always think of the reason we separated was simply because of the overtaxation. That was part of it. But there was so much more, and really wasn't aware of it. But they were so good from like George Washington on, and those who wrote up the Declaration and all, they were very good about documenting things and about keeping, they made a library where they could put, I think it's called the Library of Congress now, but it was developed back then where they could put their writings and their journals and stuff. And a lot of their journals started before the Revolution and before the Declaration. However, the things that will interest you and interest me are that we weren't only having problems with misrepresentation on taxes. We had a Congress, we had a judicial branch for the law, but nothing they did was of any use unless it was unless the king gave his okay on it. So what did that do? It crippled them. It crippled, and that was not the agreement that had been made in the, anyway. So they gave absolutely no power to our judicial system, to any of the judges or anything, except that King George III would approve it, which he very seldom ever did. I don't know if he ever even got the communication in the first place. He also had his military. The British military forces were here in the colonies, and they were taking up whatever housing or residence they wanted in anybody's home, eating up all of their food, basically doing whatever they darn well pleased. So, to me, if that were the case, I would think that would lead to a lot of vigilantism. Now, I don't know, I didn't see that particular, but I haven't read all the journals either. I know there was a lot of dueling, but as far as like murderers and that, see, England already considered a lot of them over here as criminals. Not all, but a lot of them back then in the 1700s were considered criminals by the king. So, they just didn't really care. And there was another problem with naturalizing other citizens from other parts of the world who wanted to come here, who did come here. So there were a lot of things. There was a lot of stuff that was going on where our colonists were actually being harmed by King George III and his troops. And it wasn't all just taxes. That was a part of it, but it wasn't all of it. So that is one thing that I studied here recently. And if this is boring you, I'm sorry. Go back and listen to one of my other things that's more interesting. I did a story the other day. Go listen to that. But no, I think it really is important to know. It's important to know why we are the United States. Why we did what we did. And a lot of the world, they just look at us and say, oh yeah, the ones who still like Great Britain. We love Great Britain today. Don't get me wrong. We love England today. They are very close friends. And ever since World War II, or before, we have been great allies. This was, you've got to consider, centuries ago, under a king who, in my mind, was more or less nuts. I don't know if he really was or not, but it's like, you think you can rule a people like that? Evidently, he thought he could. So, I'll give you an address for the webpage in the description, and you could, if you want to go take a look, you can go look from there. So we are still in the development stages, but there is a lot of interest, and I just want to put it out there that, yeah, that's what I do a lot of my time, or with some of my time, is I research. I research history and I research what's going on now, as far as not just what the news puts out, not what, I want to hear what they are saying, and, what the actual Congress people are saying. I don't want the way the news has decided to present it. That's the thing. There is a big, and this is one of the things that's happening today, is one of the big blocks between we the people and the government is the media. Now, we have freedom of the press. Do we want to lose that? Absolutely not. But we need to have access around that. We need to have more direct access with, and we have those laid out so that we can, but it's very difficult to actually. In fact, I've sent emails to our representative here in our area, and his newsletter. I get his newsletter. Generally, it does tell me what he's doing, which is important, but there's a lot of stuff goes on in Congress and in the executive branch and so forth that we don't hear. And if it's security stuff, that's fine. But if it's not security, if it has to do with, how it's affecting agriculture here, how it's affecting earthquakes in Alaska, or helping people out. Right now, it's helping out the people in Florida. Those things are all great. And it's like, bravo, we have these opportunities to help people recover. And it isn't just the government that does that. There's a lot of other agencies. So, just kind of letting you know what I've been doing. Besides writing a story about Arnold and his scarlet macaw. I enjoyed writing that. I really did. I took an extra day. That's what I did. I took that extra day because I really wanted to form that story in my mind. It was very short, but I felt like I formed it pretty good. I put that teeny tiny hint of romance at the end. And I don't want to say any more for those who haven't gone and listened to it yet. But it was a hint, more or less. So I just want to let you know what I've been up to. When I'm not doing things for the channel, I do other things, but I spend time with doing that research, and I do enjoy it. I always enjoy doing research for my stories. I need to have a target to research. Unless I'm watching something on like History Channel or something or Discovery with Josh Gates. Who doesn't like to watch Josh Gates? So I hope I haven't bored you too much. If you are interested in knowing more about this, like I said, there's that website, and I think the more we get this division, that's my opinion. I think the more we get this division, less, kind of bring that divide closer together and, kind of stitch it together where we're part, where they realize we are a big part of this government again, then when you get that hatred and hateful behavior that's going on in government and at home, we have to start at home. We need to stop the hate at home. And that's like, the marches there's nothing wrong with the march. We're allowed that. Peaceful assembly is allowed. But when you start hurting people, when you start a riot, that's not allowed. That's not good. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I'll see you tomorrow. Love you all. Good night.